Hi YouTube, I'm back with another video and I'm here with Immortal. Say hello.
What's good, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about Raven. I'm going to be giving you a lot of beginner tips and tricks, not too in-depth because Raven is a very in-depth character. He has a lot of kind of ways about him, so we're going to keep it short and sweet, hopefully for you, but I'm going to show you lots of tips and tricks.
Okay guys, just to keep in mind, the notations on the screen will be for P1 as most beginners do play in P1, but if you do want to play P2, just look at Immortal's command history on the right side of the screen. Okay, so can you tell us a bit about Raven, please?
Yeah, so I'll give you a bit of a character introduction. So as I said before, Raven is a very complex character. He has a lot of moves. I think he has about 125 moves or something like that. A lot of his moves are not really that useful. They are and they aren't. They're kind of weird and niche in a lot of situations. So I think his movement overall is really good. His backdash is very good compared to most of the male characters. He has a very, very top tier backdash, which means he covers a lot of distance when he backdashes, and his cancels are very, very clean. So he covers a lot of backwards movement. So in that regard, he has very good movement. Now his sidestepping is a little bit average. I wouldn't say it's great, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's kind of in the middle for a male character. So I think where Raven really shines in his movement and his space control is his crouch dash. So Raven has a crouch dash and he has moves out of his crouch dash like QCF1, QCF2 for example. QCF4 is another famous Raven move from crouch dash, very evasive launcher. His mix-up potential, he has two stances. He has back turn, which we are going to cover a little bit more in depth later on in the video, and he has soul zone, which replaces haze. Typically he's always had haze, which is the same input as 3+4 to get into straight away or just by itself. So those are his stances and movement in a nutshell.
Okay, so can you show us some punishes, please?
Yeah, so typically Raven didn't have good punishment. Now in the recent patch 1.08, they did give him a 15 frame launcher, which is crazy because Raven players have been asking for this for about 20 years. So the fact that they decided to do it now is kind of insane. No one really expected that, but we're going to get onto that when we talk about 15 frame launches. And so we're going to start from 10 frame, which is his quickest punishment technique. So he has two. He's got 1-2. He can also go into soul zone, which is one of his stances, by holding down or by pressing 3+4. So he can do that. I like to use his other 10 frame punish, which is 2-4. Now he can crouch dash out of this by just pressing nothing. He doesn't have an 11 frame, so let's skip to 12. His 12 frame standing is 4-1. So this leaves him in back turn for a mix up. So this is great for, as I said, if you wanted to mix people up. His 13 frame punish does about the same damage. Yeah, one less point of damage, but I think it has more range. So you kind of have to be the judge of, am I going to use 4-1 and be in back turn, have a little bit less range, or do I want to use down back 2-1, have more range, but do one less point of damage. You can also go into soul zone from down back 2-1 as well. So let's say, for example, I wanted to force a mix up after punishment. I can do down back 2-1, hold down, or down back 2-1, 3+4. And then I can mix people up with whatever moves he has out of the stance. So that's what you would use that punish for. His 14 frame punish is down forward 1-4. This is new to Tekken 8. He didn't have this in previous iterations of Tekken. This is brand new in Tekken 8. A very, very good punish. It also wall splats. There are a few others like back 4-4 is also 14 frames that goes into back turn, but personally I think because this does so much more damage than the rest, this punish makes the others obsolete as punishes, really, unless we're talking about 1+2 in heat. So his 1+2 is also 14 frames. Now the difference is in heat, it's a launcher. Let's talk about his 15 frame. Now he has a few 15 frame launchers. So before this patch, it was down forward 4-4-3. Even though it doesn't say it's a combo, this is a true combo because the opponent can't side roll out of it, they can't tech roll out of it. So this is actually a combo. So it was down forward 4-4-3, but now they made forward 4 a launcher. So this just makes down forward 4-4-3 obsolete again because this launches. And it does quite good damage, to be fair. It insta tailspins. So yeah, this is a really, really good punish. He does have another launcher, but I think because forward 4 now launches, it's kind of obsolete as a punish. But his other launcher is 16 frames, which is down forward 2. or down forward 2-3. I prefer to use the 4-string. Both of them still launch, but this is more consistent on axis. So those are his standing punishment techniques. I think we're going to move on to crouching. So his crouching is a little bit lackluster up until 14 frames. So his I11 punish is while standing 4. So this is his punish literally all the way up until 14. So you would use this for -11, -12, -13. It's all while standing 4. The good thing about Ravens while standing 4 is that it's +7 on hit. So a lot of while standing 4s are like +5, +6. Some are +7, but Ravens is +7. So that's good that it's quite plus. His 14 frame punish is where he can launch now. So his 14 frame punish is while standing 1. So this is really good because most characters in the game can't launch at 14. It's usually 15 or 16, but Raven can launch. This is one of his special aspects to his grounded punishment, is that he can launch at 14 frames. So that's Raven's punishment in a nutshell. I think we are going to go over some launchers and whiff punishment. So typical launchers I like to use for whiff punishment are down forward 2 or down forward 2-3. So you can do down forward 2. This would be the combo, something basic. And then you can do down forward 2-3, which I prefer to do just because it's easier to do. So those are his combos from down forward 2 and down forward 2-3. So that's his 16 frame launcher. Now again, I said before, forward 4 has made a launcher in this patch, so I use this way more as a whiff punisher because it's pretty easy mode. It's just forward 4, quite an easy attack from, you know, creating space with backdash, forward 4. And then we also have a long range whiff punisher in forward 3, so you can get some crazy damage from this attack. Now, he can use while standing 1 for a whiff punish, which is quite difficult because you need to cancel his crouch dash. As we mentioned previously, he can close the space with crouch dash. Now, you can cancel his crouch dash by returning to neutral and pressing a button. So yeah, those are his main whiff punishers and launchers that I would say are viable. He does have other launchers, like his cartwheel is a really good one for longer whiff punishment. But overall, his launchers pretty much all have long range. But yeah, those are his, I think, 3 or 4 launchers that I would say are really important.
Okay, so you mentioned down forward 2-3 being a string. Could you show us some more strings, please?
Yeah, so down forward 2-3, let's just touch upon that just because you mentioned it. So down forward 2-3 I use as a launcher because it's more consistent than down forward 2, especially off axis. He has other variations of the string as well. So he has down forward 2-4, which is launch on block. I think it's something like -15 on block. So this is launch on block. His newest string, as I detailed in the punishment section, is down forward 1-4. So this is one of the strings that Ravens like to throw out, and it is -14 on block as well. So it's very punishable on block. So just keep in mind that all of his blue clones, they're all -14 on block. So if I do attacks that have the blue clone at the end, you're going to see they're all -14 if they're blue. So when they're safe is when he's in heat now. So they will be orange. So all the orange clones will be safe. So you can't punish these. So just keep that in mind. That's a general rule of thumb with Raven. If you see a blue clone, it's going to be unsafe at -14. It's always the same. So it is easy to get used to the punishment with those clones. It's not like, you know, one's -10, one's -12. They're all -14. So that's something easy to kind of keep in mind about Raven regarding punishment and strings. If you see a blue clone, just do your 14 frame punish, or some characters don't have a 14 frame, so a 13 frame or whatever. So just do your best punishment up until 14 and you can really damage Raven for doing those strings. So that's down forward 1-4. His other common string, now this has been common for, I can remember since, you know, Raven was introduced to the franchise, is down back 2-1 and down back 2. So down back 2 by itself is a very weird situation because he's in back turn and he has a power crush out of back turn. We are going to touch on back turn in a little while, but he is forced into back turn after down back 2. Now he has down back 2-1, which is mid high, so you can duck the second hit and you can actually launch it. It is a little bit tricky to duck launch. Now they did give him another string out of this move in Tekken 8. This is exclusive to Tekken 8, which has a clone at the end. So down back 2-1-1. So you do actually have to be a bit more patient than you would have before. But yeah, again, -14. So if you do see the string, the clone is -14. Back 2-2. Back 2-2 is another one that they like to throw out because it has strings that can counter hit launch you. So if you press after the first 2 hits, so after that, you, yeah, just press like a jab or something. Yeah, so
Oh!
it counter hit launches. So yeah, you kind of have to be very patient on this. Then he has the low, which also is launch on block. -30, which is crazy. Let's talk about back 2-2 by itself, because this goes into back turn at -3. Again, back turn is very much a mental stack stance, because now you're looking out for the last hit of the string, right? And now I'm in back turn, so that's what I mean in terms of it's a mix-up potential stance and it's a mental stack stance. So now you're looking out for the last hit of back 2-2-3, for example, but now I'm just going to be in your face in back turn. So it's good for that. If you know the opponent is aware of those last hits, you can just do back 2-2 and, you know, leave yourself available for a mix-up, for example. So this is a good counter hit fishing tool as well. But yeah, that's 50 damage for them pressing a jab, which is crazy. So that's back 2 and, you know, options and how to deal with it. As said before, this version is launch if you do manage to block the mid. This version's also launch if you manage to block the low at -30, which is crazy to even think about. A low is -30, which if it counted launched, I could see, but it just doesn't do anything on hit. I mean, it knocks down, but nothing's guaranteed, as you can see there. So yeah, that's back 2. In back turn, he has back turn 2-2. So this is another string that can end in a clone as well. So back turn 2-2-1 ends in a clone. This is not a combo. As you can see, this string has 3 hits, but only 2 hits are registered. That's because it's meant to be used as a count hit tool. So it's a back turn G clear. So on counter hit now, I'm going to key charge. So this means the first attack is going to be a counter hit. All of those hits registered for the combo, and there's nothing the player can do. They can't block because it was counter hit. So that's a G clef in back turn. So those are Raven strings in a nutshell. Most of Raven strings, his most popular strings anyway, I would say. Okay, also I think what we can mention is his stances that we previously touched on a little bit. So his back turn and his soul zone, but then also he has a very good parry game. So he is known for his parries and sabakis, but we're going to touch upon back turn first. Now he does have a couple of parries within that stance. So we are going to touch upon his back turn and parries within back turn. So let's start with his back turn stance itself. How do you get into back turn? To get into back turn, you press back +3+4. So it's just back 3+4. Yeah, you can kind of do a little dance. So that's his back turn stance. And the reason why this is useful is because a lot of moves leave him in back turn. So back 2-2, down back 2, 4-1, for example. So to get out of the stance, and this is what I think a lot of beginner Ravens don't understand or they find difficult to wrap their head around, is how to get out of the stance. To get out of the stance quickly without mashing, because, you know, once you're in the stance, you can do back turn power crush, you can do back turn down 4. You can't just mash out of the stance, but that's not a good way to play the character. So I think the one piece of advice that I would give you to get out of the stance is by pressing back 3+4. So if you press back 3+4 while you're in back turn, you will just cancel the back turn. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, after I do down back 2, you're going to jab and I'm going to block it. So yeah, Raven can block after down back 2. Whereas now if I try to mash out of it, I'm going to get hit. So one thing to keep in mind is back 3+4 is his manual back turn cancel. And you can use that to get out of situations that you would be otherwise punishable. So I think it's very useful to know about this manual back turn cancel. So that's his back turn. Let's talk about what he can do in his back turn. So as I said before, his back turn doesn't have the best frames, but he has very annoying poke moves, I would say, from this stance. And so let's run through his mids and his highs that I would use in the stance. So he has back turn jab, so back turn 2 and back turn 1. You can use this as a mix-up tool as well. So this is back turn 2-2 soul zone. So this is when you've really gotten the respect of the opponent. This is not going to work if the opponent mashes out of this. So yeah, just keep that in mind. His back turn mids that I would say are his best mid by far to me is back turn back 2-4, because this move jails on block. So if you block it, even though it's mid high, you can't actually duck the high if you block the first hit. Yeah, you can't duck the second move because it jails, and jailing means that you can't duck the move after the first hit is blocked. Now the second mid I would say is really good is back turn forward 3, because they buffed it to be more plus on hit. So now it's +6 on hit, and what it does on counter hit is it's +14 on counter hit, which is very, very interesting. And so with this move, Raven has trade tech, which is very interesting because If you do back turn forward 3 back, he's +3 on hit. Now this move is 13 frames. So watch what happens when they jab after it. So let's just get hit by the first. So you can potentially launch with this move, which is insane. So yeah, again, that's why this mid is so strong, is because on counter hit, +14, on trade it's +17, and on normal hit is +6. So it's quite strong, I'm not gonna lie. Very, very strong mid. The last mid I'm going to talk about is a new mid, is back turn 4. This is one of his heat engages. So back turn 4 is a jump attack, so it will jump over lows. Now I'm going to talk about some back turn lows. This is an area where he did get nerfed, so they did nerf all of the generic lows in the game. This is actually launched on block now, which is crazy because before it was -11 on block. So if you do while standing 1 here, yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm launched for doing that, and this was one of Raven's main lows, -4 on hit. So it's really obsolete as a low, especially because they buffed this low, which is safe on block. So we're going to talk about why this low is so good. So back turn forward 4 is, as you can see by the frames, -9 on block. So if you try to while standing 4 after this low, I'm going to parry. So this is where the parries now come into play. So because it's safe on block, I can parry you for trying to punish this low. So he has 2 types of parries in back turn. Escape parry, which is this one, which is performed by pressing back 2+4 or back 1+3. So a unique property of this parry is that he can parry heat smashes with this attack as well. Yeah, I can parry it, and I can get out of pressure for free. So let's go back to back turn lows. So this really is his only viable back turn low, I would say. This is good for small interrupts, but honestly, I think just because of how it's gotten nerfed, I think this move is very risky to throw out just because it's launched on block as showcased before. So I can be launched for throwing this low out. So that's why I use this more. And of course, if I have a read, I can parry. So that's back turn forward 1+2 for that parry. So he has 2 escape parry, back 1+3 or back 2+4, and then his other parry, which when he flips over the opponent and hits them, is back turn forward 1+2. So they look a bit similar, but they're not the same parry, and they do different things. So those are his parries and back turn in a nutshell. Before I forget, this has a string. So this low also has a string back turn forward 4-1, which can also go into soul zone by pressing 3+4 after it or holding down. So if I hold down after it, I can go into soul zone. So I usually use this as a mix-up potential. So slide or soul zone 2. So that brings me nicely onto soul zone. So let's talk about soul zone for a little bit. So soul zone isn't as big as back turn. So soul zone, I said before, you press 3+4 to get into the stance, and he has a few options out of the stance. So let's go through soul zone 1. Soul zone 1 is just a high check tool that has an extension, soul zone 1-4, and again, this is another blue clone attack. So if you block it, it's going to be -14 on block, as you can see. So yeah, all of his blue clones are -14 on block. So that's soul zone 1. You can also do crouch dash out of it. So crouch dash by holding forward after soul zone 1. So mainly this is used in combos or for mix-up potential, for example, like this. And it can be looped as well. So that's soul zone 1. Let's look at soul zone 2. So soul zone 2 is one of his heat engages. This also launches after the heat dash, which can be hit confirmed. And what I mean by that is if I see it hit, I can still delay the holding forward, so I can visually confirm it, which is insane. So that's soul zone 2. Now let's talk about soul zone 3. So soul zone 3 is, I like to call it the cousin of down back 2, funnily enough, because it has the same frames. It's pretty much the same move. I guess soul zone 3 is slower, but on block and hit is the same. So this move is -4. Down back 2 is -4 on block, and on hit, so just get hit by it a little bit, +5. So it's the same frame. So now we're going to do soul zone 3, +5 on hit, and then on block, you block it, -4. So it's the same frames, kind of does the same thing, leaves him in back turn the same as down back 2. Soul zone 3-2 is one of his main tailspin attacks. So just get launched. Soul zone 3-2 now. As you can see, it's one of his main tailspin attacks. So that's Soul Zone 3-2. Next move we're going to talk about is Soul Zone 4. Is his big chunky low at stance. Now this is -16 on block, so it is launch. But what's special about this move is if you just, so just hold down back, I can space it to be safe like this. As you can see, that was -10. You can space it to be -9 at the last active frame, so it's going to be difficult to showcase that, but you can see it's, there we go, -9. So yeah, you can space this to be -9, and the way you would do that is through Oki and Oki setups. Now this is a counter hit launcher, so yeah, it counter hit launches. So it's, I mean, it's a pretty good move, honestly, and it has really good tracking as well. It's very difficult to step. I mean, the redeeming factor for you is that you can launch it. So, you know, I do actually have to be careful. I wouldn't say it's a move to spam. If you can get used to kind of spacing it, it is really good. See, you can't launch it then. But yeah, up close, it is a really risky move. So that's Soul Zone 4. His last actual move from the stance is Soul Zone 1+2. So it's a homing attack and it knocks down. So it's guaranteed a back 3 on hit, which hits grounded, so you can't actually get out of that. Even though it's not a combo, you can't tech roll or side roll out of it, and it hits grounded. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. It looks plus, but it's not. It's 0 on block. He can do teleportation techniques from Soul Zone. So all you need to do is hold a direction. So he has 3 versions. The first version we're going to look at is his neutral. He can teleport his white hole. It's actually called white hole, this technique. So he can do white hole into just stand, into neutral. So to do white hole into stand, you hold up in Soul Zone. You just hold up. So of course, any move that transitions him into Soul Zone, so down back 2-1 Soul Zone, 1-2 Soul Zone, back turn 2-2 Soul Zone. Any move that transitions him into the stance, you can access these white hole transitions. So that's his neutral transition, just holding up. His back turn transition is holding back. So as you can see, he's now in back turn from Soul Zone. And my personal favorite is full crouch. So he can transition into full crouch, and that allows him to be in full crouch, which is quite scary for mix-ups, really. And even after his hell sweep, if you just get hit by his hell sweep, he's in Soul Zone now. So this is a good mix-up. So that's Soul Zone in a nutshell.
Okay, so can we look at some of Raven's sort of bread and butter combos, please?
Yeah, so Raven has, his combos are pretty much the same from every launcher. So let's go over his standing launchers first, and then we'll go over his, launchers from crouch. So while standing 1. So down 4-2-3 is 4-4-3, jab, 4-4-3, jab, back 2-4-2, and that's his tailspin. Or you can do QCF 1-2 as well, is like an easy one to do. Just this. That's an easy ender. The one thing I will say about Raven's combos and launchers is that they do a lot of wall carry. So that is down, forward, 2, 3, 1. Let me show you the easy combo from while standing 1 as well. So while standing 1 is his launcher from crouch. So I'm going to run through it. So it's while standing 1, 4-4-3, 4-4-4. After the 4-4-4, we do 4-1. We're going to end up in back turn. So now we do back turn 2-1 forward. And then just 1-2. So that's how you tailspin in the combo. So let's put it all together and do it again. So that's something you would do for Raven's B&B combos. Now, if you're not comfortable dashing up and doing this for combo enders, you can just do QCF 1-2 or while standing 3-2 as well. So they do similar amounts of damage. So I'm going to show you that at the end of the combo. You can just do QCF 1-2, easy combo, or 4-1, or whatever kind of wall carry you want to do. If you wanted to include heat in the combo, you can forward 4-3 and then heat burst. And now you can go for Oki or anything like that. His Okazemi is really not beginner friendly, so we can touch upon it a little bit, but not that in depth. So I'm going to show you it again. So forward 4-3, heat burst. So that's one of his B&B combos that includes heat and burns heat at the end of the combo. So again, his launchers pretty much follow the same combo route, I guess. So if we're talking about 4-4-3, same thing. So 4-4-3 is the launcher, right? So what we usually did is 4-4-3, 4-4-4 after the first launch. So we're going to follow that same route. 4-4-3, 4-4-3, 4-4-4, follow the same route. So his combos are pretty much straightforward once you understand the kind of the combo route in the middle. So I'm gonna show you that again. 4-4-3. And then easy. QCF 1-2, very easy. So that's forward 4-3. His only launcher that I think is different is forward 4 because it instantly tailspins. So you can't actually use like, you know, Soul Zone 3-2 for a tailspin because you've already tailspun at the start of the combo. This is what instant tailspin means. If you look at the hit properties in the frame, above the frames, there's like a red corkscrew. So that's what screw attack means. So if you see that in the move list, that's one of his Raven screw attacks. So, okay, so the easy combo for forward 4 is forward 4, 4-4-3, 4-4-4, down back 2-1, Soul Zone 3-2. But that's an easy 60 damage B&B. I'm going to show you it again. Quite easy. So those are Raven's B&Bs in a nutshell.
Okay, can you show us some wall combos, please?
Yeah, so Raven's wall combos act really weirdly in this game. I'm not going to lie, because... So let's talk about his wall combos on a direct splat, because he does have different wall combos for different situations, but we're going to talk about what happens when you directly splat. So directly splat, I mean splat directly on the wall. So after a direct splat, so let's just get you to the wall. You do QCF 1-2 because that's his most consistent tailspin attack at the wall. So I would recommend QCF 1-2 after a direct splat. You can sometimes do back 2-4-2. So let's just show you that tailspin attack. So back 2-4-2. You can do that, but sometimes it will whiff. So I would just recommend getting used to either QCF 1-2 or forward 4. So forward 4 is probably the easiest one because it's just one button, right? And it doesn't really require a crouch dash. So we're going to set that up again. Down forward 1-4, forward 4 to tailspin. So that's how to set up a tailspin at the wall. And then the combo you would do, yeah, so you would do back turn 3+4, 1-2-4, or on male characters, because this 1-2-4 as a combo ender works on every character. He can do back 2-2-3 for more damage. So you can do something like this for more damage, but this only works on male characters. It doesn't work on waifus or female characters. So I would just stick to 1-2-4 after back turn 3+4.
Okay, so thank you so much, Immortal. This was so helpful.
Pleasure.
Guys, check out Immortal's YouTube channel for more extensive guides. I'll put the link to his channel in the description below.
Take it easy, everyone. Peace.